Hi everyone and welcome to Polyphonic Tarot. Today I'm Prince of Cups 518 and today we're going to be talking about the Three of Swords. Now this is a card that is a little on the bleak side. It isn't a positive card. It is a card associated traditionally with literal tears and sadness. And so today we're going to find out why that is. And of course we will be talking more specifically about the taut Three of Swords, and it is pronounced it is pronounced taut. I've heard all sorts of pronunciations lately as I scour the YouTube for things to talk about. And Thoth, I've heard, Thoth. Actually, it is indeed taut, according to my professor of Mediterranean religions in college. Take it as you will. She used to say it was pronounced taut, and so I'm going to go with taut. So we're going to turn to our Book of Taut and do another close reading today of the Three of Swords today. This card is kind of near and dear to my heart in a way, just because my very first blog post ever was on this card. So here goes. Bina, the Great Mother, here rules the realm of air. This fact involves an extremely difficult doctrine which must be studied at length in the vision and the voice. Yeah. Bina isn't here, not the beneficent mother completing the trinity with Keter and Chokmah. She represents the darkness of the great sea. The text is kind of short, so I want to read through it, all of it first today. This is accentuated by the celestial lordship of Saturn in Libra. This card is dark and heavy. It is, so to speak, the womb of chaos. There is an intense lurking passion to create, but its children are monsters. This may mean the supreme transcendence of the natural order. Secrecy is here and perversion. The symbol represents the great sword of the magician, point uppermost. It cuts the junction of the two short curved swords. The impact has destroyed the rose. In the background, storm broods over under implacable night. Okay, so what he's getting at here, throughout this whole suit, we have been talking extensively about how the energy of the suit of swords is all to do with the letter Vav of Tetragrammaton, and that Vav has certain qualities and characteristics and mythologies really associated with it, because Vav is the letter of Christ, or any god in mythology that has to do with the afterlife, that has to do with resurrection, self-sacrifice. Any of those ideas are inherent in the idea of Vav. And so what he's getting at is that this card deals very much with the doctrine of separation. This is the doctrine that schools of Buddhism talk a lot about. The idea that the world is inherent suffering because of the doctrine of separation from unity. Basically, since we're all separate beings, or we feel like we're all separate beings, you know, acting out our lives in the same system, the system being the universe here and now, living as under the illusion of separatism has created us into, in a way, deformed creatures, is kind of what he's saying. That any creature created that really any creature at all that is created experiences this separation, and that really is a source of pain and suffering. That is true. Now, with the Crowleyan Thelemic doctrine, we know that he believes that the nature of the universe is not suffering and is actually joy, and that any separation and any pain caused by separation is done in the name of happiness and in the name of joy and in the name of bliss and ecstasy. Anything in the universe, any action, be it joining or separating, is an act of joy and is an act of love. To divide is an act of love to an extent, and to unite is an act of love, because you can't unite without division and you can't divide without unity. So both of those are expressions of love. But with this card, there is no love in this card. Bina, the Great Mother, who does sort of represent the collective unity, the collective consciousness, does not here represent any good stuff. She is, of course, Bina is represented by the planet Saturn, and this card is Saturn in Libra. Now, Saturn rules Libra, so Saturn is very content to be in Libra, but it is also, as a result, very powerful in Libra. Now, that is emphasized by the fact that Bina is also Saturn. So we get this very dark, heavy, brooding energy that Saturn gives us in this card. And it's really inescapable in a way. It's a very claustrophobic card, and it sort of is the precursor to a lot of the feeling of enclosure that we get further down the suit, further down the tree of life with the sword suit. So unlike the Three of Wands and the Three of Cups, which in higher planes are able to be positive, are very warm and bright, the Three of Wands we talked about was all about creative energy and incubation of creation. The Three of Cups was all about reunion and reunification and contentment and celebration. With this card, all of that's out the window, except the idea of creation. Because Crowley says in that text that there is still that idea of creation inherent in this card, but it is such that the only type of creation it is capable of creating is separate creation, you see? And so that creates what may as well be called abominations. This is why we are all messed up in the head to some extent. This is why we have the problems, or at least this is the philosophical explanation for why we have issues surrounding sadness or pain or sense of loss and all these things that sort of corrupt our being and make us feel less godlike, less pure, less holy, less like temples of the Holy Spirit as it is written. And the other thing, too, is that this does go back to this idea of Babylon and Nuit, the goddess being sort of like Kali, sort of this, the Hindu goddess Kali, which is all about destruction, and goes to this idea that the Great Mother, all of her children are abominations because she herself is, to an extent, an abomination. She is so wanton with her love that this is the whole idea of calling the goddess a sacred harlot or anything like that. Crowley's imagery of the goddess as a whore is obviously very stark and is very difficult for us to think about and not think about it emotionally. We think of that term, and obviously that has such a negative connotation to it. And really that was the whole point of him calling her that. But it was also to represent the idea that God, as the mother, does not discriminate. She does not say, I am only going to make this type of being, and I am only going to love that type of being there, and everyone else can go to hell. It's much different than that. And really the love of God, the love of the goddess, is so all-encompassing and is so free and liberated that it does not say this creature does not have the right to exist because it is broken and doesn't understand its connection from Godhead. Because if the goddess functioned in that way, if the female principle functioned in that way, how would we be here? I mean, look at us. We are clearly not all with it as a species. Clearly. And so, if it weren't for that principle, we would not be here, and creation would not be here. And so it is supposed to be a really wonderful mystery, of course, but a wonderful blessing that God has no filter, in a way. God just will let infinite potential be in order to experience it and to let it grow, because God loves all things indiscriminately, and that's so important for us to remember, and is so crucial to understanding what it is to be human and how we all interact with each other. It's the basis of so much, particularly the thelemic idea of, let other people live the way that they are going to live. You can only really live life for yourself. Don't interfere with other people's lives because you don't know what another person is supposed to be living like. No one has that idea. We are all unique beings and we are all equally disfigured naturally. And it's something that I think we need to learn to embrace and, recognize that it is a problem, but it's also in some ways a great strength. Because it is our separation that makes us individuals, which is what the Vav is all about. And it's that individuality that allows us to create the rich and diverse and interesting and chaotic, crazy world that we live in. It's also why he calls this the womb of chaos, because it is here that we get all these different contradictions and weird discrepancies that make life confusing and challenging and hard to deal with. They are all born here in this card. And it's something that we need to learn to not fear, but learn how to accept that and to understand that this is a choice. That the sword of the magician in this card, the central sword, represents the will and the individual choice to take this, happy unity and happy duality and passivity that was expressed in the Two of Swords. It's a choice to break that up and to destroy that image of peace and pacific calm. It's a choice that either, you can say that we as individuals make it during the process of reincarnation, which is what Thelema says, or you can just say that, this is what God has decided, which is also, sort of something that we touch upon with the Lover's card, actually, with the Hermit in the sign of initiation there. Choosing to separate Adam and Eve into male and female. That separation is a choice and is a necessary aspect of being. So that's all the philosophical aspects of this card. It's a very, very interesting card, and even though it is one of the sadder and more gloomy cards of the deck, for sure, when you get this card in a reading, it does represent sadness, feelings of loneliness, and isolation above all other swords cards. In my book, that trumps all other cards. The Nine of Swords can also feel isolating, and the Ten of Swords can also feel isolating, but not to the pervasive degree that the Three of Swords is. The Three of Swords is the root of it all. The Three of Swords is the root of all evil, so to speak. It really is a pervasive, it's almost like the idea of Weltschmerz, this world sadness that German philosophers in the 19th century had this idea of Sehnsucht, also from the same period, this idea of separation needing to be united by love. That love is there. Nothing can unite the divided but love, as we read in the Book of the Law. So the remedy to this card is union and is love and understanding similarities between yourself and others, and understanding how the parts of your own individual psyche also fit together into a pretty complete whole once it's all, put together and regulated through the process of initiation, So it's a very interesting card. It's got a very simple meaning to it, divinatorially, but philosophically it's got a lot going on, and I think it's all really interesting. So I hope you found this cool. I hope that it helps. And don't forget to subscribe, to like this video, share it if you liked it, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Book a reading with me. My summer sale ends Monday the 16th of June 2014. It's a good deal, so make sure you check that out on my website. Alright guys, thank you for checking in today, and I will be back to do the Daily Trump.